Before I start the show, I want to shout out snowboarding legends Ken Achenbach and Rick Alden. Ken was at the very first Baker Legendary Bank Slalom and took home duct tape this year, 40 years later. And Rick brought his kids to the LBS and won duct tape as well. So rad that our community has such epic people at its core. FNRad is presented by Flojoy water, which is purified by granite rocks. Flojoy, a true gift of nature, and Chris Roach. And Essential Toothpaste Tablets, travel-ready, eco-friendly toothpaste your taste buds will enjoy. Wired Snowboards factory in Vancouver builds high-quality custom snowboards for about the same price as other brands' regular boards. I've created several one-of-a-kind wired customs, including a Chase 162 that's seen hundreds of my best powder days. Get yourself a game-changing snowboard and join the Wired team with Devin Walsh, Sasha Daly, and many others. Wired Snowboards. For more information, go to wiredsnowboards.com. Fixed bindings are FNRad. The comfort, performance, and quality of fixed bindings stokes me out every time I snowboard. Their commitment to making bindings that work amazingly and give you no issues puts Fix ahead of other binding brands. It's just that simple. Buy fixed bindings at an authorized dealer or go to fixbindingco.com. Bluebird Coffee Tuning and Rentals in Squamish is the coolest new stop on your way to Whistler. Bluebird offers quality board tunes using state-of-the-art equipment, premium rentals for every level of rider with demos of Burton step-ons, and award-winning coffee and incredible smoothies. For a blend of expert knowledge, convenience, and lots of charm, stop by Bluebird in Squamish and get your board tuned at the newest mandatory stop on your way to Whistler. Pro Standard makes the grill mount the best mount for your Insta360 GoPro or DJI camera. It's a heat moldable mouth mount, tripod, hand grip, hook mount, bottle mount, wall mount, clamp mount, glove mount, and shoe mount designed by snowboard legend Ken Achenbach to get you the perfect angle for snowboarding, surfing, biking, and it'll replace 90% of your other mounts. Use code FNRAD to get 20 off your first order at prostandard.com. Anon snow goggles enhance and protect your vision with unmatched optical clarity. Anon's Magnatech quick lens change technology allows you to swap lenses with ease. All Anon goggles are engineered to deliver no fog days and pair perfectly with Anon helmets and MFI magnetic face masks. Get yourself the best goggles at an authorized Anon dealer near you. Support also comes from our friends at the Boardroom Snowboard Shop. Check out boardroomshop.com and use code FNRAD10 for 10% off regular priced items and FNRAD5 for 5% off sale items. 1910, the collaborative artworks of Jamie Lynn and Scofe. FNRAD20 saves you 20% off at 1910.com. New Greens, the superfood green drink sourced from American farms. Use code FNRAD for 20% off at newgreens.com. I want to thank DeKind Snowboard outerwear, travel bags, and backpacks, Rip Curl's Anti-Series outerwear, and our friends at Mount Seymour, Grouse Mountain, and Cypress Mountain for their support. Dani Kiwi Meier started surfing in New Zealand at the age of 14. At 20, he moved to Switzerland and became a pro snowboarder, a product designer, and an early influencer of the European snowboard scene. He was racing for the first time at the Mount Baker Legendary Bank Slalom, where I caught up to him and recorded this interview in his sweet RV, which was parked overlooking Mount Shuskin.
Bro, I went into this shore in Shanghai on my day after a big shoot, big commercial. We were there for 10 days. Went shopping with my producer and we were just rolling. We went to the Apple store and I meet the guy and he takes me to the corner where you can get all the different Apple cases. And I wanted to buy an Apple case. I was in Shanghai. I thought it was quite nostalgic. Blah, blah, blah. and I looked at some colors and I pulled the purple. But then I saw the greys, like the greys, like there's those grey tones. You're like, oh, they're nice too. So I took them both to a table and I asked the guy, which one would you pick? And I looked at him, and he wasn't my kind of guy. I mean, you know what I mean? It's not sort of my world. The world
I love that.
And he says the grey one. And I'm like, good, I'll take the purple.
That's it. I bought the first one I got was the black one. I was like, I'm just going you know, you go through it. You have like, I'll get the rose gold, and then give me the black one, and then whatever the green color was. Okay, now give me the black one.
But the black one's a black hole.
It's
You always lose your phone with a black case because it's at the bottom of a bag that is lined in black.
Oh my God.
And you look 3 times in there. You ask your daughter to look in there, and no one can find it.
Yeah, Devin lined his signature Bakota bag with bright colored material for exactly that, so you could see your stuff in there.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
It's nuts.
It's like, right? Just don't make it black.
Why is
Make
it
it 3 tones off black, or make it something else, but don't make it black.
Yeah.
Make it speckled so it doesn't look dirty, because they get really dirty.
They do. What was the first snowboard that you put your feet in, strapped into?
That I liked or I didn't like, because I had a couple of experiences with snowboards.
Yeah, let's hear it.
The first thing was this Burton Cruiser, and it had plates and 44 sized hard boots on it. Imagine that. I'm a size, that's 44 European, I'm a size 40. So way too big, rare entry ski boots on plates on a Burton Cruiser in I think it was the Stubaital in Austria.
No way.
And I fucking hated it. I
course.
said, this is the worst thing I've ever tried
Did
or
you
experienced.
double
at the
eject
time.
out of the boots? Like,
I fell out of the boots.
Yeah.
Actually, on the way down.
Yeah.
I remember that day vaguely. I just wiped that from my memory. But
Yeah.
then I went straight and said I need to buy my own board.
Yeah.
And this was in Switzerland, like in '88. And I went to the shop in Zurich. It's called Beach Mountain.
Sick.
Andy Tanner and Patrick Rode were owning that at that time. And I walked into that shop, and the only reason I went there was called Beach Mountain. Everybody said if you go to Zurich, there's some like-minded human beings in that city, because I thought Switzerland, we can talk about Switzerland later, but Switzerland was like chocolate and bankers. You know, for me, that's what Switzerland was. And it was all pretty straight cookie cutter, no action sports culture at all.
Okay.
So I went to the shop, and I found all these, people that skated and people that loved to surf, and even though they're landlocked, and obviously we loved snowboarding and had all the killer posters on the wall and everything. And I bought my first snowboard there. It was a Sim Switchblade and my bindings, and I went to learn to snowboard in the Swiss Alps. That was '88.
Sick.
Like, I'd never snowboarded before other than that horrible experience on that Burton Cruiser.
Well, you get pretty good pretty fast, because by 90, 2 years later, 91, you've got a pro model board.
Yeah, I suppose that was pretty rampant.
That's fast, right?
It's even, like, you tell someone that these days, I
Yeah.
think the crazier part of it is, when I started snowboarding, I was 20. I had never been on snow before.
Ever.
I didn't like snow. I didn't even look for snow. I didn't want to be part of skiing community or anything.
At 20.
At 20, yeah. So I got on a board because out of the need of coming to Switzerland, not having any surf to surf, and I needed a job.
Right.
And so I went. I got a job in the ski resort called Descentes in Switzerland, and I obviously knew I was going to learn how to snowboard. That's what I thought I would do for the winter. So I went and bought that board, some Switchblade at Beach Mountain, and went up into that little resort in '88. And
were you pretty much able to do it right out of the gate when you're not on? Because it was more hard boots in the beginning in Europe than soft boots, right?
It was, but I definitely started in soft boots.
Softies,
Yeah, 100%.
like those Sims
Sorels.
bindings with the little wavy.
With a nice little padding on top, really nicely done with the red corners.
Yeah.
Straps that always broke, the clips that always flew off.
Yeah.
And the base plates that split and then
And
resplit.
Sorels.
And Sorels, felt liners. And then obviously it was a little ski town. I was the only snowboarder really, apart from some skiers that snowboarded a bit, but it was a ski town full of skiers. And they were really good backcountry skiers. So my first lines or my first learnings came from a bunch of amazing skiers in Descentes in Switzerland. And I followed them on the piste, ripping moguls and carving turns and descending really fast to, hiking out backcountry, boot packing and riding different variations out the backcountry.
And that all happened like in those first couple of
and
years?
that was the first year. No, that was my first year ever on fucking snow.
But had you surfed a bunch before? Obviously.
I surfed a bunch before. But it was never, I surf now, I snowboard. I never even came to Switzerland to go snowboarding, but I did surf a lot. I grew up diving. From an early age of 3 years old. I started diving with my dad. Then my first spear gun at 5, and then we were just spearfishing, like always.
That's so cool.
And that got to a point where I wanted to surf, and so I wouldn't go diving as much anymore, and I'd go surfing. Started quite late too. I started about 14 years old. I started surfing. We were a really cool bunch of crew in Wellington and the Wairarapa, and we surfed a lot together. We travelled a lot together, and we moved up and down the country, sleeping in our station wagons, our Holdens, and really having the best time of our lives.
What era of surfing
really.
is that for? Was that was it fairly established and there's already pros and everything, and you guys are just reading magazines and chasing the dream like that? Or?
Yeah, there was the OP Pro in Huntington, what I mean? There was that kind of world out there. There was things going on where there was definitely a level of surfing going on that we were aware of, but we never got to see.
Right.
Because people didn't really come or travel to and be part of a tour in New Zealand as much as the local surfing with and against the locals.
There was stuff in Australia though, right?
Australia was the other end of the spectrum, yeah. There was
surf.
such an incredible amount of search culture between Australia, and a big strong bond between Australia and the US. And Hawaii.
Right.
And that community just grew tremendously. And we always just stuck to our point breaks and our reefs and our secret spots and surfed locally and did our local contests and have amazing talent in New Zealand across the board in anything down there, I feel. Yeah. Not just action sports. But, it was just more of an adventure back then. A bit like snowboarding is.
Yeah, my impression of New Zealand, having never been there, never been to Australia, is that you guys kind of have that dynamic that Canada and the United States has. Like passionate, really good, unbelievably good, talented people, but maybe not the kind of support of the big scene, you know what I mean? Like, so if you really want to make it, then you got to go into the other market, right? But that's just my guess. I don't know.
You got to go. You probably also have to establish yourself.
Yep.
And find footing there.
Yep.
Because every time you come home, we're still a small community, and we often don't really want to go anywhere else. We travel a lot. We're good travelers, but we love it at home. We're very proud. We're very local. Now, we grew up local. We grew up respecting localism. There's a really strong etiquette on the earth in New Zealand and in the water and in all sorts of elements. You've got to really be aware of that, and it kind of molds you quite inward. You grow up quite solid, you know how to respect others and pick your battles.
Yeah, that's sick. That's really sick.
Yeah.
Is the Maori culture, is it marginalized like it is in Canada, where there's reservations and they're kind of over there and the rest of the country is sort of colonizing power, or are they integrated into communities?
It's kind of, it depends who you speak to.
Yeah.
I would say if I could speak for us as New Zealanders, Pākehās and also the Maoris, we live pretty well on the island together. And
Sick.
We all have good friends.
Yeah.
And we all respect each other. Right. We all understand and hopefully have learned and taken time out to appreciate it and learn even deeper the cultures and the histories of how New Zealand was inhabited and who the originals were and who are the authentic, local people there and who came in from boats and from England and from, other stuff, and suddenly we're here and they're here.
Yeah.
And there was agreements made, but I love the Maoris and I love everybody that is I call a friend down there, and sometimes people don't get appreciated as much as they should. So I think giving the Maoris their voice and their place, as much as they should and deserve is important, and they get it. They have a voice and they have a place, and they're definitely integrated. I mean, they
seem very strong. They
part
seem
of a good community.
Yeah, seem very
Yeah, we're in their community.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's
not us gauging them. We are part of their community, and we try to stay in sync with changes in culture and thoughts and political, interests and stuff, and adapt as blow-ins, us white Kiwis.
Is that like a howlie for Kiwi?
No, we're not blow-ins. We're native. You're born there, you're there. You're Kiwi.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It's all good.
Sick, dude. So what makes you go to Switzerland in the first place?
Oh,
You're 20 years old already?
Mum is Swiss.
Okay.
Mum and
Got you.
Dad,
Yep.
Dad is German.
Yep.
And they emigrated in 51 on a boat
Yep.
to New Zealand. And then, I was born in 65 and my sister the year before, and they never left, and we grew up there. We had foreign parents, but we were native to New Zealand, and
Yeah. But so then at 20 you kind of you want to go back, or you just want to check it out.
I was living in Raglan. I was having the time of my life, shaping boards with country lines and exit sticks, and
Oh wow.
living right at Whale Bay in the A-frame. And I mean, you can't ask for more than that. Doing a few boards a day and surfing indicators out the front of your house is sicko.
That's unreal.
Good community and everything was fine. And I said, fuck, if I don't go now, mate, never gonna leave this spot. This is too good. So I took that Swiss passport. I took $400, one-way ticket to Zurich.
Yeah.
In sync with my grandmother's 80th birthday. So I'll go, there's a purpose, I'll go and stay with her. At least I have a spot, put my pillow.
Yep.
And I did 2 months in Indo on the way. So I went to
sick.
Sumatra and Nias in 88, late 87, early 88 to Sumatra, and surfed Nias for 2 months.
So I don't know the timeline for those spots, but was that pretty early in the
It was October.
in Indo? I just mean is it early in the scene? Because I know it's relatively unknown
Yes.
for a good chunk, and then it just blows up.
Yeah, not unknown,
Right.
but definitely rumours. There's no phone story. No one was giving you live
right.
updates. It was people that journeyed in,
Yeah.
made it, stayed, experienced, came out, told the story.
Yep.
They didn't all come out, and some came out sick. A lot came out sick with malaria, other sort of, local challenges or accidents, whatever.
Literal third world problems. Like literal.
Yeah, they were going
Yeah.
into their lifestyle, and we were not ready for it, and we had to just go with the flow. And human life often just went by there at times,
Yeah.
I saw some horrible things while I was just getting to Nias, buses turning over, people dying. Well, that is a horrible thing. And
Yeah.
then the rest was just, everything was scary. It was all just... And I was alone. I'd never been out of New Zealand, and I was just with Indonesians. Being with Maoris and Pakeas, it's very normal. It's something you do every day. But when you're the only white person traveling for 2 days, surrounded by Sumatrans or other, people from there, fuck. In '88, I shat myself. I was like, all alone. I'm going to Nias, never been there before, didn't know what to expect.
How was the surf?
Surf was fucking phenomenal.
Yeah.
It wasn't always big and perfect, but it was between 3 foot and solid 6 foot, maybe some 7 foot sets across the board on different hours or days or, movements. And over 2 months, we got at least 4 really, really strong swells.
Oh wow.
And never too many people. Didn't get sick. Didn't really get injured at all. Had an amazing trip, and then ended up in Switzerland. And
So your grandma has her 80th.
Grandma has my 80th, yeah. She dies 4 months later.
Oh, no
Poor
way.
soul. And I'm alone in Switzerland going,
Oh, dude.
I have a surfboard. I have no money.
Yeah.
My grandmother just died, and I'm really not sure what I'm supposed to do. So my immediate family, which is my mother's sisters and brothers, wanted to tell me, they wanted to adopt me and tell me how to live. They said, you need to go to the military and you need to cut your hair. If you don't do that, you never look like your uncle. They showed me photos of people in uniforms and Swiss uniforms with their hair cut. They are now in the bank and stuff, and said, no, that's not what I do. I need to get away from you as quickly as I can. And I literally went with a mate. It was all the way to Hossegor and Biarritz. We surfed until we couldn't anymore, and then we drove. And I met a dude at the beach in Hossegor, and he offered me the job in the Swiss Alps. And he says, come back in the Swiss Alps, and I'll get you a job.
Just like that. So it's like in that kind of community of board riders where you just run into cool people. And you're like, I don't know what I'm going to do. And he's like, come work for me, man.
Well, look at us right now.
Yeah,
I
same.
mean,
Like,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
You walked across a huge car park. I've never been here ever in Mount Baker in my life at the event.
Yeah.
And now we're sitting here having a chat.
It's
and
just
that
like
just
that.
connects even as an individual, it makes you remember moments that you normally wouldn't be talking about.
It's true. It's true. I mean, that's what I got hooked on, was like, road tripping. I got into it pretty early, right? Like went to Windell's all the way from northern Ontario out to the west coast, saw the mountains for the first time, saw the scene for the first time. And then even the sub-scene of just campers, not just all the cool pros that were there. Reto Lam was there.
Reta.
Yeah. And he was there
during
those years of like Camille Brichet, Bertrand Deverneau.
Yeah.
Like they were on those, can opener Santa Cruz boards, just about to blow up, right? Like, so I'm there. I'm paying attention to like the other campers and what we're trying to learn. I could do a backflip or something. So I like wound up with this other guy who was like, could do a backflip. We're hanging out. And then the videos come out, and Camille, Bertrand really stood out that year. Everybody wanted those Santa Cruz boards, and that's how I, saw Radical Airline. And then, within a year or so, I was involved with the distributor, and, looking in their pamphlets, there's you've got.
So was that Marty
model.
Carragher, the distributor?
It was Murray Fraser.
Murray Fraser.
Marty, I went to his place in Quebec.
Yeah.
I picked up something. They gave me like catalogs and said, sell the boards to your friends. And so like I went around to my friends. I said, does anyone want any of this stuff? And a couple of people ordered. My friend Paul bought remember the gear? They had Rad Air jackets, pants, like
the whole
everything.
outerwear, travel bags, the whole 9 yards.
So
and it was pretty good shit, actually.
Yeah, he bought all of it. He bought like head to toe Rad Air.
Funny, yeah.
And I was like, oh, dope. So then Marty shit the bed with, you know what happens? In distribution, Marty brought in one of everything probably. So he's got this sample set of all this clothes and all these boards, and it's just not going for him. It's not making money. So then Harry switches distributors to the old Crazy Banana distributor, which is Murray Fraser. Yeah. So it's like, and then I moved out west and started working for that guy. He had a retail shop.
Okay.
And so in the meantime, I'd done these road trips, and there's nothing like being on the road, and then you run into other snowboarders. And they're like, oh, where are you staying? You're like, oh, we're going to camp out the side of the road. They go, come stay at our place.
Yeah. Even here, just before you tuned up, I was just going to start cooking dinner for everybody. I was just going to walk out with plates. I use this as like the grill kitchen, and then go out, and just every time you come out, there's a group of 6 different people out the back of the rig,
It's
like,
unreal.
hey, who's hungry?
Yeah. This is a real event. The LBS is like, it's never gone away. That spirit of, people seeing people from all over the world.
Yeah, it's a really good thing.
So what was that job that you got when you go to the Swiss Alps? You worked in a shop or something, or?
First job I had 2 options. One was work as a waiter in a restaurant. I said no way. I had to wear a white shirt. Didn't own a shirt. And I was pretty frugal, back then. I was just a grimy surfer, from New Zealand. I had, I had etiquette, but I was still pretty, grovelly. And then they gave me another job. They said, look, you can work for the tourism office and you can be the ice meister. The ice meister is the master of the ice, or the chef de glace, which is the Romanish word for ice meister, which is a man who makes an ice rink.
Oh, shit.
I'm like, oh, yeah, Kiwi, never been to Switzerland, never snowboarded, definitely never never seen an ice rink in my life, is now the ice meister, which is the master. Like, okay. Took the job, had no clue what to do.
Did the ice suck for a little while you were cutting
your
teeth?
No, you make it on on 2 tennis courts.
Sure.
And as it gets cold and snows,
you
put ski boots on, and you stamp the snow down. You make that hole feel flat and hard and packed, and you build a little wall around it.
Okay.
Quite compact, and then you get a fire hose, and you stand there for about 110 hours of just at night in the cold temps, and you just hose off 2 tennis courts until you have, a layer of ice.
Yeah.
And then you get the kids on with the skates.
Can I return this?
Thanks, man.
Hey, thank you.
Empty pot is a good pot.
Yeah.
When I'm done, I'll start cooking up skewers and stuff and bring out some hot food.
Holy shit.
Yeah,
Thank you for boiling that.
yeah, boy.
That's epic.
Boys are stoked.
Yeah, it looks like you're in a good spot. You got some good neighbors. You got
Good-
fire out
Good
front.
crew.
Yeah.
Good crew. I arrived up here at Baker and I asked some people way up the front of the lot where should I park. And said, "Oh, right here, it's the best view in there." And I wasn't sure whether they were fucking with me or not.
Right.
You know, you're like,
Right.
park here. Or
Yeah, totally.
But they were being honest. There's some really good spots up there. But I just cruised down a bit and
yeah.
created well, I didn't create anything, but people just came. You know, people just filled this whole place up
Yep. Yeah.
from one end to the next with all these amazing mobile homes.
It's incredible.
and
Incredible
they
stuff.
take care of each other and they help out.
Yeah.
Such a good vibe.
Yeah, it's beyond, right?
Yeah.
Is there stuff like this in the surf community, like big get-togethers for contests or whatever, and everybody camps out on the beach kind of
I
thing?
think in this kind of community culture environment with that kind of an event,
Yeah.
it's tricky.
This might be it, eh?
We're in the nature here.
Yes.
Surf contexts generally around like urban communities, and it's quite hard to go to the nature with. You'd actually have to make a camp out in the nature somewhere and make that like a gathering.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's not a spot that's...
It's not
Yeah.
a service to destination you want to go.
Right, you can't bring in all your stuff to do a
Here there's
contest.
structure and infrastructure,
Yeah.
you know.
Or you can
But
plug
you
in or
could,
whatever.
that's
Yeah.
a good thing, you know.
Oh, that'd be a rad thing
yeah,
to
the
start.
Woodstock of surfing.
Yeah.
Bring it back.
Yeah.
You camp out, you go out, and it becomes a community for a period of time, and there's an activity.
Yeah.
Like the longboard classic we do, which is a little bit the European
This.
Baker.
Yeah.
It's the Woodstock of snowboarding that we've kind of coined it over the last 25 years.
Sick.
There's a similar amount of people that come, just very European. So
Yep.
if you ever go there, you'll meet all those European people
The
that
Euro guys, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know
Never seen-
Conrad Bergstrom?
Conrad, but yes, very much.
Oh,
He's a big
sick.
player up north.
Yeah, so what I'm trying to do
Mm.
is get a big reunion at Conrad's house. He said sure.
Wow.
He's got like a chalet that he's turned into a home or
Was
something.
he on the e-boats for
Yep.
a while? And
I
very
think he still is.
successfully.
He still is. Yeah, I think
Beautiful
he's the Elon
vessels.
Musk of e-boats.
Yeah,
right?
there you go. The Elon. Well, I'd rather have Conrad for dinner than Elon. But that's
Yeah, yeah, obviously. Yeah, Conrad seems like a real like straight shooter,
yeah,
like
yeah.
you
He's
know,
been a good contributor and a good participator.
in
Strong dude.
in the European.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
that's the thing. We do so much over there.
Yeah.
It just stays within that world. You know.
It doesn't reach us here.
Yeah. It can trickle through and it impacts, but it's not
Yeah.
always like
Yeah.
just a little softer. all
We've been
around.
we've had the Scandinavian invasion a couple of times. You know, there was like some Finnish dudes that came through that really made an impact. It just, you know, and obviously Terje and, you know, there.
Yeah.
And those guys I already mentioned, even when Camille and Reito got into the, you know, the
Yeah.
major Mac Dog and, you know, but really we're clued out on what's going on over there.
You just have a lot going on over here.
Yeah, there's
You
a
know.
lot. There's a lot.
Artur Longo's here,
Yeah.
but you don't even notice it. You know what I mean? It's just part of the community.
Oh yeah, I know.
There's some legends here that it's just this
Oh,
like
yeah.
energy vibe because, and then you know, Peter Bauer's here, legend. I mean,
legend of legends.
it's
Yeah.
unbelievable.
Peter's like, you turn. Like, I know that guy.
Yeah.
Of course I know that guy. Peter and Jean, like that whole. Where were they in your scene? Were they just?
So Peter and John Nevera, you're talking about
Yeah.
Peter and John Nevera, the PJ boys.
Yep.
They were at that point where I'd come in and there was these beacons.
Mhm.
I came in very naively to snowboarding. I came in through a need of to slide sideways.
Yep.
I didn't know there was an industry. I met all those people as I started to snowboard. And the only thing that intrigued me right at the beginning was a post of Mickey Frew, who was a European half-pipe champion,
Yeah.
on the wall of the shop of the Beach Mountain. And I went, I want that guy's bum bag. He had a little Vision Streetwear bum bag, and I want to be able to do a method like him. And Mickey, we're still good buddies. It just was always epitomized to me snowboarding like Jamie Lim epitomizes,
Yep.
you know, a backside air and snowboarding and the culture of snowboarding in the States. Mickey
Absolutely.
Frew was a little bit like that to me
Sick.
in Europe, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
David Vincent as well as one of the guys that
Oh.
came across. Like,
David Vincent, such a talented character, such an interesting guy to get to know and become a friend of.
Sick.
And so amazing how his creativity was always misunderstood, yet it was so advanced and progressive.
It was.
And is iconic today, and is kind of a staple part in like what was really defining creativity and looks and logos and graphics and
Hell
style
yeah,
and personality and trickery,
That was the best
tweakery.
era. Yeah, that was the best era of snowboarding, right? So
David.
you guys have Apocalypse. It wasn't Apocalypse, it was A-boards by that time.
Yeah.
So it's Regis, what's his, like, is he like revered over there? Is he?
Regis is a demigod, a legend.
Yeah,
He's
yeah,
like
yeah.
Regis is like the Matterhorn.
Yeah.
The little light you see, the star that comes up at the Matterhorn when you're looking the right way is like Regis Roland.
That's amazing.
If you looked at any video at the beginning, it was probably Apocalypse snow videos where you saw people pinning it, and you're like,
Yeah.
what's going on?
It's only him. He's the only
Even
snowboarder
today,
in it. Yeah. Oh yes.
You'd be
yeah.
going, what's going
Oh yeah.
on?
I tell people about that movie, and I'm like, oh, you haven't seen it? I am so happy that I get to tell you about this thing, because it's beyond. When you think about the fact that he's snowboarding in a bubble, no influences from anywhere.
Yeah.
He saw some guys come over and do a kind of a demo. Some winter stick guys rode for a half an hour in front of him, or probably a run or two, and he just went, I'm going to do that. And then he took it to that level, like just on his own.
So he'll come to the Longboard Classic, for example.
Oh, cool.
He doesn't come every year, but he'll come and pilgrim to, the baker of the Longboard Classic.
Yeah,
kind of
that's
thing.
great.
And
That's
that's
super
nice
cool.
to catch up with him then. And him and Harry and Paul are exceptional friends, because those are all the kind of OGs of the industry who made product and
Yeah, that's your
developed brand.
Tom and your Jake and
Yeah.
your Chuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, and your Mike and Pete. Like those are your guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. You can really similarize like that.
Yeah. For you, like Crazy Banana, Rad Air, that kind of thing, did it have a weird ring to it? Like you know what I mean? Like
For me, as an English-speaking native,
yeah.
I was never part of Crazy Banana.
Right.
That day I was on the mountain. Oh,
Yeah.
that's funny. I forgot about that. Day I was on the mountain with that burden board and those look back, whatever they were, plastic hard boots.
Yeah.
I hated it and I wanted to leave. I was invited to try it and I didn't like it. But as we were walking out of the Bergstation, like where you take the gondola down, I saw the Crazy Banana team.
Oh, the team.
The team. Well, I didn't know who they were, but they were these crazy dudes in one pieces.
Yeah.
Those white
Yeah.
suits with all the bananas on them with the glasses, right? And they were running around, coming off the snow, screaming and yelling and yahooing, long hair and all that shit.
Yeah.
And moustaches and stuff. And they took off, and they said, "Oh, that's a pro team. That's the Crazy Banana team. They're like serious shit." I'm like, "Oh, there's something going on.
There's more
in
here than
snowboarding."
this is more than
Yeah.
just this little rental thing.
Yeah, ended up writing for them
Yeah.
and being teammates with them.
Yeah, so it would have
And
been
are still
Paul
best and best
Rachel
friends, like
yeah.
best friends with Harry.
and Harry.
Should have been on a Jim Hand trip with him now. We're doing the Longboard Classic with Paul Gruber on the 4th, 5th of April in Steuben again.
Nice.
Paul, Reto, had dinner with him in Munich the other day.
Oh wow, what did he end up doing?
He runs Bogner.
Bogner's still his thing.
Bogner, the Fire and Ice company that
Fire and
we
Ice,
used to
yeah.
ride for.
Yep, yep.
That still exists, but he obviously oversees. He's like the big cheese at Bogner.
Oh, that's super
Busy, still gets into the Pontresina area, the top Engadine part where he's born and from.
Yeah.
See his dad and his brother, and ride with his friends. But he's usually in Munich.
That's wild.
Yeah, he's a busy boy.
Did you do trips with Ken Ock at all?
I did. I always met Ken predominantly in Europe when he came over and
Yeah.
shot over there.
Yeah, because he shot a bunch in Europe. He was
Yeah.
pretty prolific in those early days
Yeah.
of freestyle. He was a really good freestyler, and then
I heard he was a really good BMXer.
oh yeah,
I heard he
probably,
could throw a BMX out of a vert ram higher than he's ever been able to jump on a snowboard.
That's true.
Which
I
is
think.
pretty
Yeah.
serious.
It's very serious.
So he was good on
yeah.
a BMX.
Yeah,
I've
he had
never seen a photo of him doing that, and I would love to see it.
I don't know if there was like it was pre-photo. Like you'd
Maybe.
have to get someone with a film camera to and.
It's not that old.
No, I don't mean like that. I don't mean a pinhole camera.
He was sitting here 12 hours ago. He was
Yeah.
here yesterday evening, chilling
That's
out,
amazing.
having a cup of tea.
He's such an icon of
Yeah.
I was going to say Canadian snowboarding, but just snowboarding in general. Like he was at the beginning and influenced a lot of important people that have influenced a lot of important people. So that's pretty sick.
Yeah, it was good to catch up with him.
Yeah. So once you're an ice meister, and you've got that job dialed in, something obviously happens that connects you back into snowboarding.
Well, that was when I started to snowboard, but the time was available.
Yeah.
An ice rink doesn't open up till 1, 2 in the afternoon every day.
Oh,
So
sick.
every morning I was on the first gondola with my
way.
ski buddies,
Yeah.
and I'd learn how to ride. And every afternoon I'd come down, I'd open up the ice rink, and I'd meet the villagers, the village parents, the village grandparents, the village children that would all come to ice skate.
Sick.
And I'd sell them hot drinks. I'd help them onto the ice. I'd rent them out the boots, get them on the ice, and then close it out.
Could you skate?
No, I couldn't skate, mate. I was terrible at skating. I'm scared of ice. Full on ice, you break a bone, mate.
I can't skate either, dude.
So I
I'm
got
Canadian,
2
so
years.
yeah.
Owned an ice rink got paid to build an ice rink for 2 winters,
Yeah.
and never really ice skated. Was too busy
fucking love that.
snowboarding and
Yeah.
chasing girls and taking care of the ice rink.
Doing the whole thing. I like that a lot, that you're like helping people out onto the ice.
There you go.
Yeah.
Two of the worst injuries were from me. I ran out if a kid was falling over.
Yep.
Ran out, slipped over, cracked my head open, bleeding. The other time I slipped over and a kid ran over my finger. So me on the ground was the problem, so I just stay back.
I love that so much, dude.
Yeah.
So you start to get some momentum pretty quickly with getting a pro model board. So you designed, now I don't know what the first one was, but I imagine like that Soul or something was like a couple of years into it, right?
My first board that I used to ride what they had, the boards they were making, so I would ride what they had, and they were great. And
The
it was
Jam,
the Lucy, the Jam,
Lucy,
the Rocket, and then they had
yeah.
a few others.
Yep.
The Jam was the one I rode at the beginning.
Yeah.
They had inserts, which was amazing.
Sick.
That was just, you had to have inserts back then. I mean, that was what was going to drive the market to where it is today,
Yep.
Rad invented the 4x4
Yep.
together, I think, with F2. It was a collab.
It was.
Not wrong.
Yeah. They might have even done a joint ad about it.
Yeah, I think so. It was really, and then we open sourced it in the sense that we gave it to the market. We never patented it,
Yeah.
which I think is really, when you think about it, man. So Rad and F2 invested time and effort into developing an insert pattern,
The one that
which
we
is the
still
4x4
use today.
that we all call
Yeah.
4x4.
Yeah.
That is today, that I rode today, that most of us rode maybe today.
Yeah.
And then we just gave it to the market and
Right,
said,
'cause-
hey, everybody should just use this and just be cool with it. And
Yep.
that's how I always really appreciated Rad Air and Paul and Harry. They were always very generous to the market.
Yeah, because Burton at the same
I
time
was doing the opposite.
came into the 3-hole pattern.
Yeah.
Then they patented it.
Yeah.
They charged people for creating binding discs that fit that.
Yeah.
They tried to enforce that. They really did try to enforce that for
Yeah.
a couple of years.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of backlash because it's like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
You can't patent fun, and there was like backlash against it. But they held firm and kept making. They've never done 4x4. They
No.
went right from that to the channel.
They never have. And I mean, everybody else has done 4, and there's been many other things that have come out, and the channel's here. And, it's just nice to be part of that bit of history.
Yeah, that's
I mean,
really
it's,
cool.
It's kind of unwritten, but it's definitely somewhere in the history books.
Oh, we're putting it down here today. I've talked about it a bit on the show.
The 4x4, I drew a picture and wrote 4x4 on it in a facsimile in the Swiss Alps and sent it to Paul and told him the inspiration of this is from my dad's Land Rover, because we always drove Land Rovers in New Zealand.
Yeah.
So like 4x4.
Yeah.
It's kind of embedded in my brain as a kid. 4x4, 4x4, here it is.
And it's
I
4
sent it to him as a
centimeters.
facsimile,
Yeah.
and that was it.
It's pretty sick, actually. Yeah.
Simple things always work.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and they did early rotator disc binding, so all of a sudden you had infinite angles.
Yeah, really cool.
Yeah, they didn't even have teeth on them at first. Remember those rubbery?
Yeah, some
things
just spun through.
You would spin.
Some pulled out.
I mean, we were
There was
learning.
just a disc on the board, or
That
it just
was it.
spun around, was looking the other way.
Yeah.
Oh,
Sometimes
man.
you get to the bottom, your toes would be pointed inwards or whatever.
Yeah. It didn't happen to me, but I know it happens. Yeah, but you
Yeah.
sometimes put it on, you always tested it, you know?
Yeah. Well, what I
You
would
don't do that anymore.
I would drill through the nose of the binding,
And
the tongue,
T-bolt it.
and just like wood screw was enough to keep it from moving.
Isn't
right?
that funny?
Yeah.
You never used cants?
I used cants. I did use
Cants were
cants
fun, too.
underneath the binding.
Yeah.
Those Burton, then you'd have to figure out the fucking. Each screw was different length.
Yeah.
Remember?
Yeah, totally. And then you cheated, and then it would rip out.
That is
Then you
it.
had to T-bolt it.
That's it. That's true. And what were cants for? I thought they were for putting your knees
So you
together
could
like
go-
Craig Kelly.
Yeah, well, maybe, I don't know, maybe that was it.
Yeah.
Happy for him to have that one.
Yeah, sure.
He has,
Sure.
yeah, he deserves the world.
Yeah.
But I think it was also just to get your bindings wider and to
Yep.
feel like you could really
Step on them.
stomp on it. I liked it sometimes on the front
Yep.
and not on the back.
Oh, weird. That's
Yeah.
opposite of what everybody.
Yeah.
But when you think about it, that's more gas pedal. Yeah.
yeah,
That makes
I could
sense.
stomp on the back, and I had something kind of to back up against.
Yeah, that's
kinda-
kind of neat.
Yeah, I like that. And I actually did that the other day with my split board
Yeah.
too, just to ride, because you have the pucks
Yep.
that you can have canted or not.
Yeah.
So I took front canted pucks, sorry, and flat pucks on the back, and that works pretty nice too.
Dude, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a lot of tinkering with stuff, right? Like, 'cause like you said, your first boots are Sorels. So then
Yeah.
you got to grab those ski boot liners, you put them in there.
Yeah.
Sometimes a bit of duct tape or
And
something.
if you felt rich, you go to this company in Europe called Strolz, and they used to be the company that would foam blast or foam blow your liner, and
I
then
don't
you'd have
even know what that means.
they would be foam injected, so
In
they would be thermothotic,
Yeah.
really formed around your foot,
Amazing.
and they would put you in a boot, they'd blow it in, and then it would seal. And then it would be your permanent foot form within your boot. So that was already
Yeah.
like, whoa.
Yeah, we had Intuition up here, so same deal. They just heat up these, basic liners that turn into like no shape whatsoever. Then you
Oh, yeah.
stuff them in your boot, tie them real
Yeah,
tight,
yeah.
and you've taken a heat mold of your foot.
That's good.
And it's night and day.
Yeah,
Compared
totally
to like even those Burton Dale boot liners
Yeah.
that were, basically rubber boots. They weren't. They were no good. But they were way better than felt liners.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
But do you find with boots, like if you go to a wet climate, they perform differently than when you go to like a really dry sub-zero climate where your boots are just hard and dry all the time? You go to a
Jeez.
wet climate and suddenly your boot gets a little just softer. So you're lacing harder. If you're still a lacer, I'm still an old school lacer.
Me too.
If you're bowing, you're probably going to the max.
I did boa there for a bit. You get addicted to it,
Yeah.
right? Like it really tightens down good.
Yeah. I bet.
And then you can just pop them when you're on the chairlift. Sometimes give your feet a break, click them in, and you're
Yeah.
tight fast. But I prefer laces.
Yeah,
They're
me
just
too.
faster.
Yeah.
They're less to fiddle with.
Yeah. Yeah, I like them.
Yeah, and they don't pop off when you're riding, right? Like sometimes you'll pop a boa.
I like the way you can tune it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Classic
do.
laces. Yeah, me too.
Silly little
Did
things.
you ever race? That soul board, okay, I keep coming back to the soul board because it was like it was a different category of board. Didn't do that well over here, like a free carving board.
Yeah, it was good.
It was too early.
Yeah, it was probably a bit early. It was really where I wanted to take snowboarding.
Yeah.
I wanted to free carve. I
Yeah.
wanted to, burn terms, but be able to like pop into the pow and not feel like I'm, sinking or getting pressure to like burn my back knee up. Just be centrally balanced.
Yep.
And Paul and Harry just gave me the chance while I was in New Zealand, because I would do back-to-back winters, New Zealand,
Oh,
Europe, New
shit.
Zealand winter.
So you had double the amount of winters of everybody else because
Yeah,
you're
I
just
did.
always in winter.
Yeah, I would do winter Europe. I'd go to Indo for 2 months,
Yep.
wait for the snow in NZ,
Yep.
go to New Zealand, land on the North Island, spend a week with my folks, and then I'd go and see Steen Webster and Jim Hoare and all my buddies up in Mount Ruapehu. Then we'd get in a car and we'd drive down to the Nationals down in Wanaka, and then we'd go do the Nationals, and then we'd session and go to the clubbies and hang there, maybe meet some people from Europe if they were flying in, because that's where most people flew into and not the North Island. And then we'd drive back home, back up to the North Island and hang up there. That was
Unreal.
That was a good part.
Yeah. How many years did you do that for?
12 years straight. So
Mhm.
I did like 24 winters with 4 months indo in between. You know, like 2 months break, 2 months break.
You're like the board riding,
Yeah.
like, yeah,
That's why
you
I
won
think-
board riding.
I think I stopped contests pretty soon because there's so much culture and adventure in traveling and journeying
Yep.
that you become really good at it, and then you
Mhm.
see opportunity to explore and document things.
Totally.
And then suddenly you become really befriended with certain photographers that see that as well.
That's
And
the
they're
money.
looking for sort of like-minded humans that
Yep.
can carry their own bags, their own weight, their own responsibility, plan accordingly, like
Wake
help.
up in the morning, make
Just
it to the
plan
session.
together,
yeah.
like
yeah.
it's not all on someone else to organize your trip.
Right.
So we would really do it together and agree on things and then just go on these journeys, document it, and a month later, obviously, it just all became really good storytelling.
Yeah. Yeah. Did
That
you
helped me a lot as I started snowboarding, just purely because I was doing that Northern Hemisphere, Southern Hemisphere thing.
Did you do any writing for magazines and stuff? That actually
I used
does
to get
help.
little columns.
Yeah. Sick. Yeah.
Yeah, I was given columns where I could just freely express myself.
No way.
Like a whole little quarter panel vertical or something, or a
Yeah.
half pager, or
Yeah.
even a pager. If there was like Murai Atoll was getting nuked by the French, then I'd get a whole page in a snowboard mag,
That's so
just
sick.
to like boycott and push back and to give my voice to the people that read that mag.
That's super sick.
So that was cool.
Yeah. And during this time, do you have like a regular job, or are you just
No,
you're able
no,
to?
I'm just completely groveling.
Sup-
Yeah, I'm groveling. I had no parental support. They supported me absolutely as parents, as like
Yes.
loving parents, 100%. They were stoked on what I was doing, but the only income I had was on my own 2 feet. So at the first 2 years, obviously the ice rink paid more than my dad ever earned in New Zealand in his life in a month, because it was Switzerland. It was like crazy amounts of money for me. So I just wasn't used to spending money.
yeah.
So I saved everything.
Wow.
I mean, I really was
In your
so
early
frugal.
20s,
Yeah, so frugal.
you just had that. Where did that come from? From your family?
just
Like,
humbleness out of
Yep.
New Zealand and my
Yeah.
mum and dad. We
Yeah.
were hunting, fishing, diving, and we always had food on the table, and we maybe had buckets to catch the drips of water that went in,
Sure.
through the roof and stuff. But yeah, no, we
When
we
you
were
talk
fine.
about spearfishing, was that like for sustenance, or was that like a business? Was that like
my dad was a commercial diver,
commercial?
so he would
diver?
dive for crayfish
Yep.
and power. Power is the
what's that?
abalone of in New Zealand. South Pacific has power,
Okay.
and the Atlantic, I think, or the North Pacific, sorry,
Yep,
the
no
Pacific
problem.
has abalone, which are bigger and pink.
Okay.
It's a meat. It's an abalone.
Yeah. They're like a limpet or something. They're like a.
Yeah, exactly. Big piece of meat inside, big
Yeah,
shell.
yeah.
Take the meat out, eat the meat. The shell's really nice and shiny. You can polish it
Beautiful,
up and use it as
yeah.
ashtrays or something.
Yeah. Totally.
New Zealand's power, so power and crayfish, and we lived for many years from power diving and crayfishing, which my dad did.
Sick.
And when the ocean was dirty or there were storms, there was really nothing spawning too much,
Yeah.
or the crays had soft backs and you can't take them when they're soft, he would go to his profession, which was a photolithographer.
What's that?
It's a photo retoucher, but the fine arts one, where every pixel is a grey tone. And they used to do that all with paintbrushes in the old days when there was only black and white pictures.
Wow.
And so we'd go and work there until the weather got good for diving, and he'd out of it.
So kind of the same. That's what gives you this idea, probably, to like follow your passion and then
think
work
so.
in between and
Yeah.
do the thing. That's how many generations? Oh no, you just already told us. 1951, they moved there.
Yeah.
So it was like
Their generation of post-child war, like
yes,
Munich bombing, 8-year-old child world, going
Yeah.
into being an apprentice as a photolithographer. Then my mother was a seamstress, sewing teacher in Switzerland.
Yeah.
They met 51 to New Zealand, and then they left all that behind them.
So a bit of like a new life, a new
Yeah.
place, nature,
Yeah.
diving.
New Zealand was looking for
Yeah.
talented, craftsmen, and they were like hiring people in. They said, if you come and stay, they said, the ship takes 2 months, costs $150. You take a huge coffin with you, a big, huge coffer, you know, with all your stuff in it, all your belongings.
Yeah.
And they say if you stay for 2 years in the job, they'll pay for the boat.
Oh, so you
so after 2
earn
years, you
back
get your 150 bucks.
Yeah, so
back.
it's like a bonus at And
that was a
150 bucks
huge
is a lot of money.
opportunity, you know. So a lot of immigrants came down,
That's so sick.
and we were fortunate enough to be the kids of them, you know.
Yeah, yeah. And so,
we spawned back,
yeah,
and we spawned back maybe with a second language. Like my maternal language was Swiss German.
Mm-hmm.
My native language was New Zealand.
Yeah.
And you go back and you kind of maybe you follow the same footsteps, or you just keep looking for opportunity to grow and explore and experience and do adventures, and kind of the hand feeds the mouth.
Yeah, yeah. Was your career or your snowboarding hindered by any of these big, like, because over here we had like the financial crisis of 2008 or whatever, and like it really did a number on the industry over here.
Yeah.
Were there ebbs and flows of the European snowboard industry as well? Or
No.
Really?
For me and my career, no, it was just fucking, it was ballistic.
That's
From my first
epic.
time learning how to snowboard to going to a Jose Fernandez snowboard camp.
Yep. Whoa, was Craig there at that one? Was that the one?
No, he wasn't.
Because Craig went to, whose camp did he go to? Jose's. Yeah.
Mark Heingarten, Alex Warburton, Alex Humpel, Mickey Frew, Petra Music, Jose Fernandez. I'm sure there was a ton of others. And
Jose is like just such an incredible character. Like I've learned a little bit about stuff. Like,
have you potted him?
no, but
he's
I was gonna drive all the way down to the States to do it. He
He's
was
epic.
doing some sort of skydiving competition or something, and I'm like, I'll drive. I'll just drive, and if we're on the same landmass, I'll just drive down to Middle America, wherever it is. And I called Ken and said, "Oh, you know this guy, right?" But I didn't know anything about him. And then one of my past guests started talking about him and saying like, oh, he lives in a van, but like
No,
by,
he lives
by choice.
He lives in hotels.
He lives in hotels.
He
That's
doesn't
what it
live in
was.
a van.
That's
He
what it
just
was.
has no home, and he chooses to live like that. And he struggled a lot after his career with his knees, so
Okay.
he can't do really sports anymore except jump out of planes.
Huh.
It's so amazing. He's always found new ways of inventing his kind of adrenaline, dopamine addiction, and
Wild.
his craving for just high velocity adventure, and he found that now in skydiving.
And he was the guy behind Hooger Booger.
Yeah,
Is that right?
He was
Am I right
definitely
on
the
that?
face behind Ugerberg.
He and some of
For
that
me,
design stuff that
maybe I don't
was
know.
wild. Okay, for you, like
Yeah,
you
for
would
me, he
know
was
better
all
than me.
Sims.
So, what?
He was
what era
Hooger Booger, then
Sims?
he went to Sims.
Oh, he went to Sims after.
Yeah.
So,
and
like-
I kind of went to his camps when he was with Sims.
Yeah.
Because I remember getting the slalom pants I raced in for years on the World Cup
Yeah.
were his.
Sick.
And my gloves were Petra Musig's.
Sick.
Um,
Like
and
gate bashers, like big gate bashing
yeah,
gloves.
I was just always, fortunately, gifted used stuff from the pros, and that allowed
Sick.
me to be kitted,
Yeah.
if you will. I bought my own board, but everything else was kitted at the beginning.
That's unbelievable. That's amazing.
And,
How do you get to that camp? Tell me, like, do you remember?
Livigno? The
Yeah.
Jose Fernandez camp?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. So Disentis, the little village I learned to snowboard in with the skiers, I was told by a travelling guest that there was a snowboard camp in Livigno, that all the world champs and the European champs and all the pros go there, and it's a real fun place to go. But it's quite expensive.
Yeah.
But it's very close to the town I was staying in. So I saved money to go for a week. I put it on. I didn't know where I was going. Took the public transport. Arrived completely lost in the world of Europe. Rode there for a week. Didn't want to leave. Had to leave. Told the owners of the camp, Evelyn Viet at the time, I think it was organising it for Jose.
Yeah.
Was the wife of Jose at the time, I think. Anyway, can I stay another week if I wax everybody's boards?
Nice.
Like all the campers' boards,
You
all
just-
the riders'
yeah.
boards. Can I just stay?
I'll be the wax guy.
Let me
I'll
work.
Stay. Yeah. Give me a job.
And they let me stay. Did another week. Won a camp contest
Yep.
that week.
Yep.
And got a prize to go to an event in the summer called the Quebra Classic in Tignes.
Sick.
So I went there, and then I saw, other people riding in a different level. Laurie Asperas was there, Laurie Gibbs was there, Stefan Rudiger was there. So
No
that whole
way.
carve world,
Yeah.
like laying out Vitali, Serge Vitali was there.
Sick.
And I just suddenly saw a little pipe, went in the pipe for the first time. There was a guy called Jean-Marc Favre, was a famous photographer from France,
Yeah.
was standing there, took a photo. I did a kind of a slob air.
Yep.
No, I did a stalefish, landed, fell over, didn't know how to ride the other wall, and he sent me the slide. And I still have that slide, and I still have the picture of that
Rad.
shot that I did. Was the first time I'd ever seen a pipe, rode a wall, was taken a photo of by Jean-Marc Favre, and those were huge milestones for me because they were really impregnating into my DNA, like, wow, things happen here,
Yeah. Yeah,
I'm not
that's
just fishing and diving and catching power and craze. There's stuff going on. These people are inspiring, and snowboarding is so much fun.
that is nuts, dude.
And then I hunted for it. I got hungry for it,
Yeah. Yeah.
And I went to the trade show at ISPO.
Yep.
Just took a train and went there. Sneaked my way in.
Yeah, not as like an affiliate of anyone. You just go in.
Yeah.
You're like, here, there's a huge show.
Yeah,
So I'm going.
yeah.
And at that, do you score a sponsor or something?
First booth,
Yeah.
barefoot. Yeah, we're hiring pretty well. And I was shocked that people would even respond. So I took that as a positive.
Yeah.
I took their card, but I never responded. The boards, I didn't know which boards were which boards. So that was
Sure.
barefoot. It's quite
Yeah.
ironic. The barefoot was there, right there.
That's so sick.
I got a card, didn't respond because I went to the next one. That was GNU.
Yep.
And GNU was looking a lot more, I don't know, it was more psychedelic and spirally. And they said, yeah, we'll sponsor you. And then I'm like, okay, what's your address? We'll send you boards and stuff. Great. Went to the next booth. I'm like, what happens here? How does this work? The next booth was Nidec, and Nike said, yeah, we'd love to meet you. That was all. I'm like, okay, this is all quite different.
Yeah.
GNU sent me boards
Wow.
to my little chalet that I was renting, a little roof room in Switzerland. They sent me 4 boards to try. I went up to the Larks Glacier,
Yep.
and I broke all 4 of them in 4 runs. All
Like-
4 boards broke.
What?
They
the
were
hell?
foam,
The foam ones.
and
yeah.
they were shitty.
Mm-hmm.
They all broke around the binding, all at the same place. So by the time I got to the 4th one, I don't think I broke the 4th one because I was just so scared of falling
Sure.
again, because they would literally just break.
That's wild.
Like you'd be going down with just part of your board.
Like break. Like, yeah. Break.
So yeah, no dissing on GNU because GNU is a fabulous company and they're doing amazing
yeah,
stuff. And
and
I mean,
that-
some of my friends ride GNUs and they vouch by them.
Hey,
Like
those were the Windline days, and they
that was winging
yeah,
it so
yeah,
hard,
yeah,
you know.
Yeah.
Get 2 pieces of bread and put something in between and call it something.
That's
So yeah, so
amazing,
they
yeah.
send. I'm like, oh, this is no good. I can't even snowboard
Yeah.
if things are breaking. So I need good gear.
Yeah.
So I went to Nidecker.
Yeah.
I took a train all the way down to Nidecker.
Where was
They were
their
in
headquarters?
Roll. They're in the southwestern part of Switzerland towards Geneva,
Okay.
Lausanne, Geneva. Took a train down, and it's funny. I went in there. I met Hans Schwindener, and we sat down. And Henry Niedecker was there too.
Sick.
And they signed me a contract, and they gave me some boards, and they said, I'm going to send you 9 boards for the winter. What do you need? And I says, I don't really know. I had some photos that I took, and they were more freestyle photos on wind lips and stuff from the skiers that
Sure.
took them.
Yeah.
But I didn't really know where I was going in my snowboarding journey. So I asked for a variety of different boards, small ones, mid ones, long ones, alpine boards, freestyle boards. They sent them all. I picked my favorite. I knew I wanted to do stuff. I knew there were some races.
Yeah.
There wasn't as much freestyle stuff going on. It was a lot more like slaloms and things like that. So I picked my favorite boards and I sold the rest.
Oh, nice.
And that gave me some cash.
Yeah, of course.
I felt really quite
Yeah.
well off, you know,
having
for going
9
from
boards.
nothing.
Yeah.
So I sold the boards.
6 or 7 boards to sell. You're
Yeah.
stoked.
Maybe it paid for something I needed to, but I tried to use that money to keep snowboarding and go to all sorts of little Swiss Cup events or any sort of little activities. And then at the end of that year, I wanted to do my snowboard instructor's course, and I went to Saas-Fee, and that's where I met people and I moved towns into another place called School, and I started competing every weekend in the Swiss Cup, and I was doing a lot of alpine contests at that time. Slalom, GS, Super G, training gates, posting gates, putting gates in, like total Mark Forces stuff.
Yeah.
And I felt I got, really, really, really addicted to it and good, and I really enjoyed turns.
It's
turns
fun,
and
right?
position,
Like,
and
Yeah, I'm a freestyle guy the whole way through. I hated the racing, but definitely carving down the hill precisely and going really fast.
Really, really fast.
Is actually quite
slightly airborne over rollers,
Yes.
and really pushing it to the utter limits and scaring the shit out of yourself, and everybody around you.
Yeah, taking the hill in 4 turns instead of 40. Yeah.
So I loved that. Loved that G experience.
Sick.
And taking that G experience into the power was always was normal for me, just big G out turns.
Sick.
That's what I ended up doing for the next 10 years.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And so you get kind of snuck away from NIDAC, or not really.
No, I told them I resigned very,
Yeah.
very respectfully, and I said,
Yeah.
hey, Rad Air is doing inserts. If you are not doing inserts, I need to move on. I see that's where snowboarding's future is, and I started getting really interested in innovation and board design and development, because people were open to your input.
Yeah, they were pretty hands-on.
Yeah. And that was our industry in the 90s. People had a seat at every company if they wanted, and you can go riding, and then you can go in and build boots.
Yep.
Build gloves with Level, go build bindings with Drake, build boots with Northwave, build boards with Rad Air, and then go to Bogner and build your outerwear collection with Fire and Ice.
It's unbelievable,
and you
actually.
did that. It's just
because
amazing.
you just named, and Roberta Walker did this a couple weeks back, like 8 full-time jobs, right? Like now you're a designer, you design clothes.
Bro.
You don't design clothes
Cut,
and boots and boards.
Sketched, designed, cut
Yeah.
and sewed, tested, wrote the copy in the catalogue, made the team shoot, brought the teams in, did boot camps.
That's like 40
and then
people.
rode and was a pro, and then got your own exposure, and then dealt with your contract, so you don't have, you have agents and managers, you dealt with your own contracts,
Coaches.
you got a job
Yeah.
contract in between too, because you were doing copy for the catalogue, you were designing boots, you were taking care of the team, but you're still paid as a pro. So the 90s was a decade of opportunities, and you either rode the high wave of Spicoli and getting really, really, really smashed and riding amazing terrain around the world, and then suddenly you just like fall into a hole and go, what happened?
Mm-hmm.
Or you got interested in the people that were actually supporting you, and not riding because they were building boards, and not riding because they were sewing clothes, and not riding because they were gluing boots, and I thought, they're giving me so much, they deserve my time,
Yeah.
more than they're giving me even.
Yeah, of
that
course.
one will always just keep flowing.
Dude, that's a really good philosophy. Like, I mean, having talked to many professional snowboarders, most of the ones that made a good impact had a really strong work ethic and a curiosity about what you just said. Curiosity, what is going on for the people that are supporting me?
Yeah.
How can I make their company more successful?
Yeah.
As opposed to just like, you're lucky to have me. Like,
Even, like, you didn't know a lot about company or business or who was behind it, but you knew they cared for you.
right.
Why should they, So you should care for them. Why
Yeah.
shouldn't you?
Right.
They're offering you something. You say, I have something of value, but only if you reciprocate. Then
Right.
it's a relationship, and then you can grow it, and you can learn from it, and you can go through the hard knocks, and you can deal with the fractures. You can build from them, become even bigger and stronger,
Yeah. Yeah.
And I really thank snowboarding for that.
That's
I think sport in
incredible.
general for that, but I wasn't involved in all sports, just some sports.
Yeah.
Those sports really have molded me till the day I die, I suppose.
I think we did it, dude. Oh my God. It was an hour dead on.
So good talking to you.
It was so good talking to you too, Danny.
Mate, I am very nervous. Trevor Graves is waiting for me in Portland to do a podcast. And first a big
With
hug
who?
and see him.
With who?
With me, with Trevor.
But what's his podcast?
I don't know. He said, you want to do a podcast? I want to do a
Do
podcast
it.
with you.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I got really nervous. I'm like, But then you sit down and you finally get to chat.
Trevor is the fucking sweetest dude, but
Trevor is the first professional photographer
yeah,
to ever take a photo of me.
sick.
You know, where I have that photo. It
Yeah.
wasn't something that was ever used, or it's just a photo. Like your girlfriend takes a photo of you, you know,
Sure,
a photo
sure. Yeah,
on
yeah,
the
yeah.
edge of a boat in the winter, and I suddenly felt what it feels like for someone to set up a camera and take a subject matter
Yeah.
that they perceive in you, and you don't even know what they can see.
Right. Did you love it? Did you fall in love with it, or was that not
I got
your
intrigued
thing?
by it.
Yeah.
And that's what spawned so much content and storytelling and photography love and passion for producing.
Yeah, because some people,
That-
when the camera comes out, they just freeze up,
Yeah.
and that's fine. I have friends who are incredible snowboarders that if my phone comes out and they know, all of a sudden they're just crashing. You know, it happens.
I'm not such a good historian, you know, when it comes down to like the month and the day and the individual and the result on the podium. Even though I was
Sure.
a head judge for the TTR for decades,
Yeah.
there's a lot of things they come and they go, and I factualize them and
Yep.
make some space.
Sure.
But storytelling,
Yeah.
all day long.
Oh, you'll be stoked. Yeah, Trevor. I'm not sure what podcast he's doing, but that's
Yeah,
super
I
awesome.
didn't ask. I mean, I didn't ask you at first either.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And we
right.
didn't really, you know what I mean? When you
Yeah.
said,
Yeah.
I just trusted you.
Yeah,
You're part of this community. You say you want to do a podcast. I'm like, you want to spend time with me?
of course.
I'll sit down with you.
Yeah, it's cool. I've found that the big name guys, obviously, for me, are the most exciting. They get the most engagement. But the hardcore listeners to the show will be like, dude, that random person that I have never heard of before, what a cool
Nice.
conversation. And I really, this show for me is exactly what you just said. So I've gotten so much back from this community for doing this that I just want to just keep on giving them as much
Yeah, one of you.
engaged content as I possibly can, because they deserve it, because this is an amazing community.
Thanks, bro.
You know, a friend of mine asked me to do a podcast with him in his RV. And he said, like, I want to tell my story. If you interview me like you interview, then it'll come out of me. You'll draw it out. Would you be game to pretending it's an RV podcast, right? You're a guy who goes around interviewing people about their RV life, right? And I was like, yeah, sure. And to research for it, I plugged in all, Googled all the best RV podcasts, and they don't have one like this. They got a whole bunch of people that, I lost my job at the radio.
Because this is
thing.
another story.
Yeah.
This is a really interesting podcast story, because this is something that is so achievable
Yeah.
without even knowing what you're getting into.
The RV life.
RV life, traveling, journeying,
I
even
get- yeah.
owning a rig like this,
Yeah.
and building a rig, a dream space, not even really knowing where it's taking you.
Right.
It's incredible.
I'm surprised that they don't have
No.
that podcast, like you living in an RV, interviewing people who are interesting that are living in RVs,
Yeah.
where the subject matter is, hey, aren't people in RVs kind of cool? Like, it's the same as a snowboard thing.
Yeah.
But we started snowboarding with a template for media that was really strong. Surfing and skateboarding had really come up with like ways of, this balance between the guys who do it and the guys who sell it, where it's like, hey, I want to do it. And then the guy who sells it goes, okay, well, fucking do it in front of this camera. And then we see it, the consumers of that, and we idolize the guys who do it. And the guys who sell it make money because that's the program. Like, by the time you had snowboarding, it was like on another level. 2-3 big snowboard mags, videos every year, selling tens of thousands of copies, like big business, people making lots of money. And then the internet comes and flattens it all
But
out.
podcasts are like, I don't listen to enough.
Sure.
Have enough butterflies on my head talking to me the whole time. But
you can do a 4-hour drive, 8-hour drive just with some music, some tunes.
Yeah, totally. And even with no music, just space.
Yeah.
I work hard on just not over filming even more space, but there's times where I really appreciate that someone is available.
Mm-hmm.
I can tap in and I can listen and I can take out of it what I'm getting attracted to in it, you know, and it's really good, and that people do that. My father passed last year, and I said it's such a shame that 90-year-old man hasn't done 12 episodes of podcasts,
right?
Or, you know,
right.
Every year a podcast, and I feel that even in itself is a huge opportunity, because I mean, yeah, we're exciting. Yeah, we got RVs. Yeah, we live this life. Yeah, we live life that maybe others would like to be more part of or build for themselves.
Yeah.
But what about the 90-year-old who's done this and this and this and these things? And they don't get the opportunity to, you know, put it down in camera and on, you know.
One of the most amazing things that I've gotten out of this was that I reconciled with my mom. That was through, I could say it, through psychedelic therapy with Sean Kearns, if you can imagine. Mm. He's become a very powerful...
Sean Kearns.
Sean fucking Kearns. Okay. He's an absolutely amazing, supportive individual, and he works with just like supporting people in their lives, which is super dope.
We're good. I was just checking power, actually.
Yeah. And so he helped me heal my relationship with my mom. And then as soon as it was good, like the minute it was good, I turned on the microphones and I just started asking her about her life. I mean, to the listeners who are listening right now that you think you know your parents, just sit down with them and ask them.
Yeah.
Just questions about what it was like to be them, who their grandparents were to them. If they met their great-grandparents, where did they come from? You know, and knowing those stories is just like a connection so much more than what I would have had this not happened, right? Like, it's such a deep one.
Keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah, thanks, Dani.
Thank you. Why did you come to do this with me? You have so many people you could do that with, like...
I don't know. You're a part of my childhood, right? Like, so like I was 17 or 18 when I first saw the Rad Air thing. Yeah. So your name was always like... It was a curious name, Dani Kiwi Meier.
Yeah.
Who's this guy? Kiwi. He's got to be from New Zealand, I guess.
Yeah, and it's quite European, the rest.
Yeah, right.
Because I don't even notice that.
Right.
I'm just thinking about what's around.
Right, and then so I heard that you were here. I went through the list, and I made a short list of people that I want to have on the show, and you were on the list. And then I heard your accent, and someone said, "Hey, Dani," and I was like, "That's that guy."
Wonderful, man.
Yeah,
I was blown when you. I mean, it was quite humbling. You like introduce yourself, and you said you wouldn't. But I just said, "Yeah, sure."
Yeah.
And then Johan comes playing in and does the Johan. I just like cut him down because he's so awesome. But a lot of love for that guy.
Yeah, you've known him since forever, right?
Since forever, yeah.
He was a big part of the Rad Air.
He was a
USA.
big part of Rad Air. He was also a big part of introducing me to America.
Sick.
But also keeping me true and keeping me like aware.
Oh yeah, he'll cuff you upside your head. Physically.
But he was always just checking. He was always like skimming.
Yep.
And I there was another guy that was really with him, under him, a younger kid, Jamie Hazelton, was a rider from Steamboat Springs that I kind of cradled into Europe.
Sick.
And then he become part of the Rad Air team.
Rad.
And he was probably one of the more talented kids that I was able to ride with, you know, from the US that had moved to the States, to Europe and hung with us like it's just a sprocket. You know?
That's so fun. Yeah, so that was I was like, yeah, I want to talk to this guy. And look at it, it was an easy flowing conversation right from the get go all the way through. That's the way it is, because you're a true snowboarder, and we share this passion for this thing. And it's kind of just like, isn't it wild that like everywhere you go, you link up with the group.
It's neat, eh?
And you go and you do awesome stuff.
This is kind of made. This is a big thing for me to feel like it's nice to be appreciated too, you know?
Yeah, I'm psyched.
I really appreciate it.
I'm always really happy to get people from other scenes too.
Yeah, no, I like that.
The European scene is off our charts here.
Yeah.
We don't, nobody knows.
I understand.
Yeah. And I had Scof on. Do you know Scof?
Scof?
Yeah, he was in France. Artist with Jamie Lynn, 1910.
Okay.
Yeah, and he just blew my mind too. So, and you just did So thank you. Thanks for doing the show.
Thank you. Where can I make sure I don't miss anything?
FNRad shoutouts to Dani Kiwi Meier. Thank you for having me over to record in your mobile home. Special shoutouts to the entire team at Baker who made the LBS possible through unending hard work. I want to shout out the dad and all his sons from Abbotsford who met up with me in the parking lot and said they listened to the show, but I didn't write down all their names. Reach out when you hear this for a proper shout out, guys. So cool to meet families of snowboarders. Be sure to come back next week for more FNRad snowboarding presented by Flojoy Water and brought to you by FNRad Productions.